Hi, I'm Chef Becky Yim. I'm here at Tucson Village Farm Angels Charity for Children Culinary Education Center. I'm here with
I'm Paola Gonzalez, and we work for the University of Arizona Cooperative Extension. And I work for the EFNEP program, which is a program that teaches community nutrition throughout Pima County to youth and adults and a lot of other populations too.
and today we're going to be teaching you a bunch of fabulous recipes, and we can't wait to get started. So we're going to make green chili and cheese tamales. One thing I like to do is make sure we have all our ingredients measured out ahead of time. And so in this recipe, we have cornmeal, dry milk powder, and baking powder. Baking powder actually makes it light and fluffy, which is really cool. We have butter or butter product, cheese, cottage cheese, which is a secret I learned, which I did from the EFNEP. Never knew about that. It makes the masa like stringy and cheesy and delicious. It's a secret. And then we have green chilies and canned corn, cream corn, like the cream of the crop corn, which I also just learned. So yummy. And then like traditionally, tamales are made in the steamer, and you can see them at the stores, and they're huge and they're like $20, but you don't always have to have one of those. So what I like to do is I like to take a bowl, any kind of bowl or a steamer, anything you have that's smaller than your pot, and I put water in it to come up to about, let's see, that might be too much water. I just put a little bit of water so that the tamales don't sit in the water, so that it can steam, okay? And so I get some towels. You're going to wrap your towel and make a worm or something like that, and you're going to stick it on the bottom of your pan like that. And that way it elevates your bowl a little bit. It helps create some steam. And then it gives a nice cushion for your tamales to sit on. Okay. So I'm going to add a little bit more water to that. I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm going to add some more water. So now, kind of as I showed you, the water's showing, but my towels absorbed a lot of the water. So I'm going to cover it. I'm going to turn my stove on about medium heat. Okay. So while that's heating and starting to steam, I'm going to mix my masa. Yes, Paola.
Everyone.
Hi.
I have a quick question for you, Chef Becky.
Yes.
Can we use a plastic bowl to do what you just did?
I wouldn't recommend that.
Why not? What do you think would happen?
What do you guys think?
Any ideas over there?
I would think it might melt, would be the first thing.
Oh, okay.
But then there's also a lot of chemicals that are released when we heat plastic up. So you might not see something, but you might have some after effects that you might not notice till you're like my age. So
we got to use a metal bowl, right?
Yeah, the metal bowl would be important.
Awesome. Thank you.
Great question. Okay. So as I said earlier, you want to gather all your ingredients. I like to measure them all out so I don't forget anything. And I always start with my dry ingredients, and then I move to my wet. So I want to make sure they're all mixed in right. And then I like to follow the recipe too in order. So here's my cornmeal. I'm going to start mixing that with a nice whisk. You could use a fork. You could even use your hand if you wanted, your nice clean hand. I'm going to add my milk powder. I'm going to add my baking powder, which is an amazing leavener. Okay, it's going to help make it light, nice and fluffy. I'm going to make sure all that gets mixed in. I'm going to add some salt, about a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Okay, and then that's all good. I am going to add my cheese. And now I am going to use my hand. And I'm just going to use my hand like a scoop, right? I'm going to mix that cheese in nice. Okay. I like a little bit of everything with every bite. So especially that cheese is going to become nice and stringy. Okay. So, and then I'm going to add my green chilies. Careful with that lid top that you don't cut yourself. I like to always leave my lid on so that when it goes in the recycling, it doesn't cut anybody. And also, if you leave your lid on, you can recycle the whole thing. If you take your lid off, you have to throw the lid away. So be sure to rinse out your can really well, and leave your lid on. Which reminds me, what I've already done, which I didn't mention, is to wash your lids before you open them. But I already did that, so I forgot to tell you that. But please, 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 please. And Paola, why is that so important?
Thank you for asking, Chef Becky. So we like to wash the tops of our cans because we don't know what's been touching the top of the can, whether it's been in a truck traveling to the grocery store or at the grocery store, right? So if we open our can and it's dirty and there's microbes outside, it's going to fall into your food. And then we're going to end up eating all those microbes, right? And what can happen? Oh, we get stomach aches, right? A little stomach flu, oh, maybe a fever and a headache, right? So we want to make sure that everything is nice and clean.
And on that line, you might be thinking, well, I'm using my hand right now. But there's a general rule of thumb in the safety and sanitation world for eating food. If you're going to cook it again, you can use your bare hands. So if this was something raw that I was going to feed to you, then I would definitely want to wear a glove. But because we're going to cook it again, we would kill those pathogens. So that is why I'm using my hand. But some people prefer not to get their hand looking like this. And something I've learned along the way through a lot of frustration is to have one dirty hand and one clean hand. So I'm very careful to only mess up one hand. And that way I can touch things and I don't know. I've just learned the hard way just to always have one dirty one. So there's my corn. Trying to get the most out of it. This might not be big enough bowl. And I'm always thinking, so I've been a chef for many years, and I always think about what is the best way. So recipes, most recipes are flexible recipes, and it's a whole category. There's flexible and inflexible recipes, and I consider this a flexible recipe because every time I've made tamales with a group of people, everybody has a different way and a different opinion about making them. So, so because I'm at home, or because I'm making this for a bunch of different people and you might have different pieces of equipment, we're making this all by hand because you might not have a mixer at home. So if I had a mixer at home, I would do this slightly different. So what I'm thinking about, because this is a slightly different way I'm doing it, is my butter and when I'm going to add my butter. So I'm kind of pausing sometimes. But so I'm thinking, what would you guys think about when you would add your butter? So the butter is a fat in your tamale, which gives it some tenderness and makes it really yummy. So how I decided when to add the fat was I was going to incorporate and mix up as much as the goodies in the ingredient, the goodies in the tamales as I could, so they'd be they would be spread out throughout. And then I was going to mix my butter in, my nice soft butter. And I was there's a word called emulsify, which is to make sure it is incorporated with all that cornmeal as well as I can. So I'm kind of giving it some force. I'm looking for those butter chunks. I see some every now and then. I'm kind of making a paste and spreading those in. I'm also looking at the size of my bowl. If I added my cottage cheese to it, I would have a harder time mixing that butter in. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so that's a really good tip, Chef Becky. And it looks like you're having a lot of fun with it. I really want to get my hands in there too.
I would really like to. Yeah, so yeah, it is a lot of fun. Look at that. Anyways, yes, cooking is a lot of fun. And so now I'm going to add, so now that my texture in my batter is a lot thinner, right? Now my cottage cheese will go in really easily. So because they're similar textures. So that's a great. So yeah, so I learn. Every time I cook, I learn. So I always suggest that you think, try to make things easier for yourself. Think about why you're doing things and you can always learn. So
And I also have another question. I'm
Yeah.
going to get a little closer here again. So I noticed that you have a lot of different ingredients, right? And hopefully everyone at home has a recipe too. But I noticed there's a lot of ingredient from one specific food group that we've been adding. And that would be the blue one on her apron. I don't know if you can see that very well, but it's the dairy group. We had some cheese at the beginning, right? And some cottage cheese. And the dry milk, right?
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Am I missing any other ones that might belong to that one? Was it I forgot what was
The
on that
butter.
one. Oh, the butter. And what is calcium good for? So there's calcium in dairy, right? We kind of know that. But what is it good for?
Well, I'm really tall. So I had a lot of good milk products growing up because I liked one thing. Can I say it? Really healthy ice cream.
Ooh, okay. So that means that maybe your bones got a lot of calcium in them.
Yeah.
So they got really nice and strong and were able to grow really long.
Yeah.
Nice.
No,
okay.
I'm sorry. No, I just tease. No, I drink a lot of milk and I have my dad's 6'3". So it's not the ice cream. But I tried to convince my parents that if I ate a lot of ice cream that I would grow taller. And I always want to be taller than my mom. So, but no. I had some genes that made me tall.
Other ingredients in this recipe can actually give you that calcium to keep your bones strong. Maybe you won't be super tall, but your bones will be strong, right?
Yeah.
And it also helps your muscles too. It helps them do this motion, right? Kind of flex them a little bit. So that's really fun.
Yeah. And you know what? I run a lot. So I love that you said that about muscles because I think about building my muscles to protect my bones. So I think of my muscles as a armor around my bones. So I do like a lot of calcium in my diet, and I also get it from spinach. I eat a lot of spinach for calcium as well. So
that's a good one.
Yeah.
And it looks like with all of that movement that you're doing to move the massa around, right? You're getting a good workout too. So
just wait, we got to fill these too. So.
Good. Okay, so I'll let you continue. Go ahead.
So I think in looking at this texture, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to chill it a little bit. So because it's so flat, I think it would spread on the masa or on the corn husk. And I think I want it a little bit firmer. So I'm going to go ahead and put it in the fridge for a little bit and we'll be right back. So hi, Paula.
Hi.
Hi. So as I said, we just took a break and I put the masa into the fridge. Mm-hmm. But as I was watching it, what I realized was we really didn't need to do that. So what happened was it just immediately started firming up as the cornmeal started absorbing the liquid. Mm-hmm. So I was just too impatient. So you don't need to do that step. Just let it sit for a minute, clean up your station, get the next step ready, which I'll tell you about, and your masa will be a lot firmer. So just as it naturally absorbs the liquid. So.
Nice. And so how can you tell that it's firmer? Like, does it look different? Does it feel different?
So it will, before, I'm not going to get my hand all dirty again. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay.
But especially when you get yours, okay. So you can even see, so that spoon isn't wet, but it looks a lot better than my hand, maybe? I don't know. I can just tell that when I do it globs, right?
Oh, okay.
So that's what I want on my tamale.
Right, so you don't want it to be like runny like water, right?
Yeah.
It has to be like more like maybe I would say like a mashed potato.
Like a mashed potato,
like
yes.
A mashed potato.
With calcium in it.
With calcium in it, okay. Cool, perfect.
When we talk about, I got to turn this down a little bit, sorry. When we talk about healthy eating, we talk about sometime foods a lot, and I would, so there's sometimes foods. So I would almost consider tamales a sometimes food.
Oh, okay.
Right? So there, but then there's add a veg too. So as you can see, we've added corn. We've added a lot of calcium to it. You could even add, there's the green chilies in it. So that's another vegetable.
Ooh, mm-hmm.
And here at the farm, like especially right now, we have a ton of kale and spinach and bok choy. And I think we could add some of that too. And as I said, like I get a lot of my calcium from spinach. So
I think that would taste great with this recipe. So if you guys want to give it a try at home, maybe add some spinach, right? Just give it a good little wash right before we add it to our recipe.
Definitely, yeah.
Nice.
So another way to hide a veg, add a veg. Anyways, so back to your question. Sorry, we just wanted to be able to stand up a little bit and not be so goopy. So, so I keep watching my water, making sure I have enough. I've added a little bit more. It's still bubbling away. Just for you guys at home, this is a commercial kitchen, and we have an induction range, which works by magnets. And it's a new kitchen for us, and so this means it's a new stove for us. And just for you guys, it might mean that what we cook here is a lot faster than what you're cooking at home. So just know that our timing might be a little bit quicker. So that's what I'm learning as we go too. So that's why I keep adding water. But as in terms of what you guys need to know, this is the next step. So you will find these hojas or leaves or corn husk leaves in your supermarket, and you are going to take them out of their bag. And then you're going to gently peel them apart. Okay, and I have some hot water, and I've already done this because you do want to let them sit for a while. So I did this ahead of time, but you would just peel them apart. Try to get one by one. Try not to break them. And then just let them sit in some hot water. I don't know, minimum 20 minutes, just till they're soft. The softer they are, the easier they are to work with. And then you're going to want to get some paper towels. I'll just put those off to the side to have them dry. And again, as I said earlier, there's a bazillion different ways. I kind of like working with my hojas a little wetter than some, because I find it helps keep the masa from sticking too much. So I like my masas to be like a bed in my tamal. Some people like it spread. And what was that? And spread and like folded over, more like an enchilada maybe. So I like mine to set up. So then what I've learned in cooking in restaurants for years, when you have to make a bazillion of these at once in the fastest amount of time, I always like to lay out a few. So then I'm always doing one of the same step at a time. And then I get a more consistent result as well. So here's two. So I'm going to put them together so that they look to be about the same size. And I'm going to remember that's two, and I'm going to put my masa to act like a glue there too. So I'm going to try, if I'm doing it, I'm going to try to get the biggest ones for me, and I might like leave the smaller ones for somebody else to struggle with. But that's why you're watching the show, and you're going to teach others. Just kidding. Okay, so how many of that? 6 is a lucky number. So that's a good number to stop at. Again, I see this one is a lot smaller than that one, so I'm grabbing a little bit. And then I like to wet my spoon a little bit. Keeps it, again, one hand clean, one hand wet. Right, just helps. Okay, so let's see. So I'm gonna start kind of far away from me. These are about 1/4 cup each. I'm gonna do 2 1/4 cups. Let's see what that looks like. Okay, put that there. I'm gonna do a little bit more. I'm gonna do 3/4 cups. So no, I'm gonna do 1/2 cup. Okay, and I'm gonna spread it because I want them to cook fast, right? Because I want to cook evenly. So if I put too much, they might squish out the top. And I want to eat them. I'm hungry. So I'm going to be a little selfish. I'm just going to do 1/4 cup and have more. Okay, so what I'm doing, sorry. So I put it sort of in the middle. I folded the top part up. Sorry, I folded the bottom part up. So it's about 3/4 of the way up the masa. I folded the right side over. I kind of pulled the right edge. And then I'm going to roll it. I'm going to roll it, and then it's a lot harder to talk about. I'm going to roll it so it looks like that. Can you see it? And then to finish it, I stand it up, and then I'm going to squish it.
Ooh, it's
Technical
like
word, squish. And what that does is I find it firms up that base so it doesn't explode. It might just be an urban myth that I've created. But to me, I like tuck it in because you don't want to go to all this work and have them explode, which has happened, especially when you stand them up. You got to like tuck them in and give them a little kiss. So because you got to love them. They're precious. And like often tamales are made at Christmas time with like huge families, and you want yours to turn out the best because I'm a little competitive. So, okay. I hope you're laughing with me and not at me, but anyways, I won't know.
And it's great. It looks like you kind of have to like use your eyes, right, to see how much to add, because you don't have to measure everything every time, but just see what fits in there, right, so it doesn't spill out.
Okay, so in, up, over, stand up, squish. And you can see how I have this bit hanging out? So then I'm gonna roll again and squish. Oh, I have another, anyway. So just love, little pat, love. Okay, now that I've done 2, and I can kind of get the feel, and I can look down here as you were saying, and I can see they're pretty similar. You see I have a pool of wet there. I'm gonna dry that up. Now, you reminded me now, in order to get some consistency, now I can go in. Now that I figured out what I like, now I can go in and do this, and I'll have a lot more consistency, right?
So cool that you can have so many different flavors of tamales, right? So for our recipe, we're using the green chiles and the cheese, but no meat, right? So this is a good vegetarian option for people too.
We're almost ready to start cooking. Woohoo! I'm checking my water. I'm moving faster. Maybe reminisced a little bit. I can't wait to hear your stories sometime. Now that we're gathering in person again. Whee! Wipe.
Wow, so it looks like you got quite a couple of them there.
Yeah, they look pretty even, right?
Yeah.
Did a pretty good job. Careful, steam, danger, right?
Gotta be careful with that. Maybe if you can't reach the pot very well, ask somebody that's taller than you to help you out, right? So you can see very into it.
I have too much water. That's what I was thinking. Because I really don't want my tamales to get soggy. So I am a little nervous because my bowl, I think, is just a little too small. I wish my bowl took up a little bit more surface area. And I really don't want my tamale to sit in that water too long and just disintegrate. So my experiment, we'll see how it works out, is to put some tinfoil down. So I'm going to make a barrier with my tinfoil to protect it, but still allow some steam to come up. So I'll add a little bit more volume. So I think that I still have too much water. And I wish that I had, can you see it when I do that? Okay, so it looks like a lot too much water now, but so if you can see the pot, the water's to here, and it's just sitting at the top of the towel, but when I push down on the towel, the tamale is clearly going to be sitting in the water, and I don't want that because I don't want it to disintegrate the masa in the corn husk and for my water to be flavored with masa. So my hypothesis is that if I put a layer of tinfoil on top of my towel, it'll serve as a barrier that will allow steam to come up, but prevent my masa from disintegrating into my water. So, and why do you think I'm using tinfoil instead of plastic?
Oh, so the tinfoil is safe to use in the heat. Am I correct about that?
Yeah.
Good. Okay, so the plastic might melt and it might flavor our water and release the chemicals that you talked about earlier too. So tinfoil or aluminum foil might be a good option for that.
Yeah.
So what do we have so far in our pot?
So far we have we have water, we have our towel layer, and we now have our aluminum foil barrier.
Perfect. So that's so that the tamales don't get wet, right? Because there's water inside and we don't want them to get too wet.
Right. So now I'm gonna take a few at a time and I'm gonna line them up so that they stick against each other.
Mm-hmm.
So the seams are all going the same direction.
Right, so the open parts are facing up, right? Because if we put them upside down, they might spill into our water too.
So they're standing up, so all that goodness stays. You know, one thing we didn't talk about is the purpose of the cheese. So let's look and remind me to ask you again so we can see how soupy this is now.
Oh, okay.
Right? And from experience, I know it's not going to be so soupy when we're done.
Oh, right. Because what happens when cheese gets like really nice and hot? What happens? It melts, right? Like if you make a grilled cheese sandwich, is that how it helps with the masa?
Well, it melts, but then it cools again in it, right? It gets a little firm.
Oh, that's right.
So I think that's why I don't know, it's kind of a scientific experiment.
Yeah.
But it's not going to look like this when it comes out.
Oh,
like
no,
that's what we're going to be testing for. So let's look. So I have a little bit more room. So I wish I had a couple more done, but we're just going to get this going. So I'm making some fake tamales with some more aluminum foil. Innovation. Okay, so now we got some fake ones there. Okay, we'll put this back on the stove. Okay, I have my steam. I love my clear lid. Make sure that's steaming. And they're gonna sit on the stove for about 15, 20 minutes and we'll check them. Hello. Hi, welcome back. Let's check our tamales and see where they're done. Now remember to be really careful because this has developed a lot of steam. So I always like to take the lid off away from me and use the lid as a safety barrier between me and the steam. Okay, so just remove the lid slowly. And then a good tip is to know when they're done is to see if the leaf or hoja removes from the masa easily and cleanly. But it's a little tricky because it's hot and the tamales are a little wobbly still. So I like to go slow and think what I'm doing and be careful and use some long tongs because they kind of match the tamal and I can give it as much support as I can. So let's see, where's a good view? Is that a good view so you can see? Okay, so I pulled one apart from the others, separate one. I have a good grip. I like these rubber tip tongs. And then I'm gonna lay it down and I'm gonna peel it. I think you'll see better if I peel it this way. So I'll peel and look at that. Oh, look at that nice yumminess. I think it's gonna be perfect. Oh, and when it cools a little bit, it'll set up like I was talking about, like that bed, right? Oh, I think it's going to be so yummy. Okay, let's see. I'm hatching this. I have some spoons really handy. Let me try. Oh my world, you guys are going to be so excited. They're so good. So I hope that you guys will make your own and take some pictures and add whatever you want to it. So it's a great, remember I said it was a flexible recipe. So you can add whatever you want. Remember, there's a few key things that I think make this dish really super special. And the one is that cottage cheese. I think the cottage cheese gives it this like ethereal texture. Another one is the baking powder that gives it its rise and its fluffiness. It will surprise people. And I never knew about that dry milk powder that really is an additional calcium component to make it really rich and healthy for you. So please, please, please look at the website or the Instagram and the Facebook and send us your pictures and let us know what you think. Okay? Thanks so much. Enjoy.
Thank you for joining us today. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the notification bell icon to see our upcoming videos. You can also follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/communitynutrition.U of A. And you can also find us on Twitter and Instagram at UA_EFNEP. If you want to get in touch with us, you can email us at communitynutrition.uofa@gmail.com. See you later.